Uh-huh.
So this is how to change the engine coolant on a Toyota Prius. And the first thing I'm going to do is go under and remove the little plastic panel that's underneath so that you can get to where the drain plug is to let the engine coolant out. And this is separate from doing the inverter coolant, which this is the inverter coolant, and over here this is the engine coolant in the radiator and the overflow tank. But for this video it's just going to be how to change. It's going to show how to empty out the coolant in the engine and then refill it and bleed it, which is the really hard part. And then I might make another video how to do the inverter if we work out another deal.
Dude, you know this is being recorded.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm explaining what I'm going to do. I think it's good. Then I'll start.
We should probably cut a bit of this out.
Yeah, we can edit it as it goes along. It's no problem. You can cut parts, you can move this there and move it around, reorganize it, so on and so forth. So, yeah, I got to figure out. Now, this is the part where I have to get a little bit down on the ground to see where the heck I'm supposed to... Yeah, I'm pretty sure this has to come off, so I'm going to need to get my... Oh yeah, I need to get my wrench. So, that's one thing I wanted to show in the movie was over here is how to actually get this panel off. So, you have to have some tools. Don't know which size it's going to be. Maybe it's a 10 millimeter. It's frequently a 10 millimeter. I'm just going to guess 10. But I could well be wrong. Ha! By Jove! I got it right. It is a 10 millimeter. So then just make sure that this is set to loosen. That's a very common mistake I make. Let's put it in Tighten mode. And then I'm going to come down here and just take all these little screws out. This one. This is my favorite tool, by the way, because you can turn it into like a ratcheting screwdriver style. But if it's difficult, then you can turn it into a wrench style and use it like a wrench with more torque. This is just quite a bit of a genius tool. And then normally, when you're taking screws or bolts or anything off of a car, you gotta keep them organized, which I didn't prepare that part. Like a magnetic tray or a cup or something, because there's going to be lots of little screws and stuff. These little screws.
I'll leave the editing to you.
Yeah, that's fine. I might try to take this one out too. I'm not really sure how many of these I got to take out to get at the radiator, but I'm going to find out. Ooh, this one's on pretty tight. This is somewhat exploratory here. See how much I got to actually remove in order to get the oh, there's a hidden one. Tricky. This one is hidden up in here.
This is gonna be hard to record.
That's a different length.
This is going to be very hard to record.
Yeah, I know, but do your best. I think since no one's ever put a video about how to do this on YouTube, it's going to be really helpful. This one has to get loosened, I'm guessing. Maybe. I'm not too sure, actually. I think, actually, this just peels down at this point, maybe. This probably would be...
Has anybody ever heard your voice before on YouTube?
The other movies I made, I was just trying to show one specific thing, so I never actually spoke. I was a little bit embarrassed, because I thought maybe I would sound like a goober, which...
You always sound like a goober.
Since I know I sound like a goober, so yeah, I never really did. But, just trying to help people. Okay, this is coming down pretty nicely. Aha! Okay, now you can actually see... Oh. No. You can see that part of it. I'm going to take this screw off, too. Are you getting a good image of the screw? aim it over this way. That's where I'm actually...
It's hard to see.
I know, it's so hard. Being a cameraman is actually a really difficult job.
Heck yeah.
So I'll take this one out. Hopefully this one will come out, and then I
had it upside down for a little portion. Video.
I don't mind. Just everyone else will be having to stand on their head. Okay, that's yet another different size screw. Lordy, keeping these all straight is going to be the challenge, I should think.
Can we take a slight break?
Yeah. Anytime.
Oh,
ow.
Thanks.
So, after you loosen up a bunch of these screws, then you can get to the heat coolant tank, which has got a drain plug right there and this connector that you're supposed to disconnect. So I'm going to do that now. This is usually really hard to get off, but in this case it just came right off. And now this is ready. And I'm guessing if I push this back, put this tub, then you should be able to loosen this with just your fingers. There it goes. So that's draining really slowly because I haven't yet opened up the radiator cap, which I'm going to go do now. So I'm thinking once I loosen this, it's really going to start draining. Just take off the radiator cap. And now that's draining nicely. So I'll just wait for this to drain. So after about 15 minutes or so, the coolant will stop draining and look like that with just a drip. At this point you want to close the drain plug because you're about to start refilling. Just tighten it up by hand, not too tight, until it stops. It doesn't really need to be anything more than just gently finger tight. You don't want to break it off. And this connector, leave that off until you've refilled the radiator with coolant. So then the next step is to refill with coolant, and one thing that's really helpful is to open on the right hand side of the car, open the little bleeder valve, and it is down in this hole. It's a 6mm hex. It's pretty hard to see down in the bottom of that hole, about 2 or 3 centimeters down. So you want to take a 6mm hex key and stick it straight down that hole, and you'll feel it in there in the socket for the bleeder screw. And this can be pretty tight. You just want to loosen it about I don't know, a turn or two. Not really sure how far you want to open it. Open a little bit, and then you're ready to start filling with coolant. So you take off, you've already got the radiator cap off. At this point you want to stick a funnel in and start filling it with coolant, and it's really helpful at this point to go slow. So one thing that's really handy to do is, before you start trying to refill, is to measure how much coolant you took out. So you're going to want a couple 1 gallon containers, and what you want to do is fill them and try to estimate how much coolant came out. You know, is it 1.5 gallons, 1 1/4, whatever it is, so that you know when you're trying to refill it about how much you're trying to get back in. So this is just how to, after you drain out the coolant, is to measure how much you took out, roughly, so that you know how much you're trying to get back in. Because when you're refilling the car, it always seems like it's taking forever to get all the coolant back in. And it's really helpful to know how much you need to get back in to get back to the level that you started at before you ever drained it out. I'll clean that up. So that's probably about 1 gallon. Then start up. Coolant still looks pretty good. Nice pink. Pretty clear, a little bit cloudy after 50,000 miles. So, about 1.5 gallons. That's what you're shooting for to get back in when you're filling it up. Okay, that's good. So, the next step is get a funnel, which I've got a nice new clean funnel, and it's big enough that it actually kind of jams down into the neck of the radiator cap area, or cap connector. So you want to get it in there. I wouldn't push too hard though. This looks like it could easily snap off, and that would be a very bad thing for the radiator. But get a funnel big enough to kind of fit in there, and then I have jacked up the passenger side of the car, so that it's a little bit higher than the left-hand side, which I have found makes getting the new coolant in a lot easier. So then, with the funnel in place, I got the so-called SLLC Toyota Coolant. This is supposed to be good for 50,000 miles. It's pink. It already has water in it. You don't have to add any water. It's part number 00272-SLLC2 from Toyota. So, open that up. Break the seal with a clean thumb. And then at this point, it should be good to start filling. So this whole gallon is definitely going in. I think the slower the better, because it tends to take a long time to fill up a Prius cooling system. It's probably the most difficult part of the job, is refilling the system. Having the funnel in there with a seal, or just jamming it into the neck, helps, because you get a little bit more pressure building up to help get the coolant in without it spilling out. I'm going to try opening this bleeder up just another turn. So this will be the third and fourth turns, which may help let air out the other side of the radiator as I'm filling this thing up. Yeah, oh, that's going in a lot better now without air trying to come back out the funnel. Oh yeah, this is good. Yeah, I would say 4 turns. 3 to 4 turns is probably what you want to do for opening up the bleeder on the other side of the radiator, because this is going in nice. Nice and smooth. So I'll keep filling it up until this whole gallon goes in, and start work on the second gallon, of which about maybe a little bit more than half of that needs to go in to get us back to where we were at the beginning, which at the beginning we were right between low and high on the overflow expansion tank. The white tank there. So I'm pretty sure that the coolant system was filled correctly before I started draining it. Whoops. I'm going to close the bleeder because I can hear coolant coming out now. So if you hear coolant coming out, a couple drops dripped out on the right hand side where the bleeder was, you're going to want to close the bleeder. And I do have a piece of plastic tube that you can connect to the there's a shot of the sort of in the middle of the screen where you can hook up a 1/4 inch inside diameter tube to connect to the bleeder valve, and that if you hook a tube up to that that's about 1 meter long, you can get it over to the funnel on the right hand side, and it'll help to bleed the air out. So I'm going to connect up that tube now. So there is the tube that I've slid onto the bleeder valve nipple, and then you just connect this tube, or move this tube over towards the funnel, and then you open the bleeder valve again, maybe 3 turns or so, and you'll start to see the coolant is going to come out of this tube a little bit. See if I can siphon it down a little bit, but obviously it's not going to it's not really going to rise to the level of the funnel. So you just want to position that so that it's at the intake, and then yeah, you can kind of squeeze the radiator hose that's down in the engine compartment, and that will help a little bit with getting the coolant to drain down in. But this is pretty typical. It just seems to take forever to get the coolant to refill. So I've only got about I've probably got about 3/4 of a gallon. So this thing's about halfway full, and I think what I'm going to need to do is oh yeah, I remember now. I need to run the pump. So to run the pump, let me see, let me go get my screwdriver.